God tells us was a black dog represented by a black bull whose hide denoted his black skin.
Here's the picture that he showed on the screen. It's a deity El, the god El. Pay attention to the crown or the headdress, if you will. This is a picture from the front of the same statue, a little closer, and a little bit from the side here. Now, this headdress is actually the Atef crown. If you go on Webster's online dictionary, that's what it says. Atef is the specific feathered white crown of the Egyptian deity Osiris. It combines the head jet, the crown of Upper Egypt, with red ostrich feather for the Osiris cult. The Atef crown identifies Osiris in ancient Egyptian painting. If you go to Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster, it says Atef, hold on, a tall crown with a long feather on each side, shown in the art of ancient Upper Egypt as worn by Osiris. Okay? Here you can see Osar or Osiris with the Atef crown. This is from the papyrus of Nebket. It's actually in the Louvre Museum, and you can see me filming that papyrus on the video entitled Reality Check. Why black people ain't going nowhere, but you might as well put Afro Style Reality Check, it's gonna come up. And in here, it's also from the Louvre Museum. You have Osiris in the middle with the Atef crown, and the description for it, if you go on the website of the Louvre Museum and you type Royal and Divine Triad, you can do a search and you will see they mention that he is actually wearing the Atef crown. Now finally, you can compare the crowns. Okay, first you have the god of the Arabs Negroes, which first is El, but somehow some way becomes Allah, but that's up to y'all, that's up to the doctor. And then you have the one that I showed you, Osiris. Then again, from the front, compared with another statue of Osiris, and then finally the same statue from another angle.
Biblical King's Seal discovered in dump site. This is the royal seal of the King Hezekiah, and here we have an Ankh. And finally, last but not least, you need to see it to believe it. The God of the Bible, El, slept in his own dung and urine. This is Ugaritic Narrative Poetry, page 195. And we also have this book here, the Masriya in a Prophetic Literature, where it clearly says that El floundered in his own feces and urine. Hotep Senu Hena Senuti Tiren Isha Kandugu Kemet. I hope you're doing well. Let me check the sound. Okay, that's lovely. So, today's Monday, January 9, 2023. Yesterday, there was this lovely conversation with the brother, Mr. Vegas. I did not open the line. So now here's your opportunity. If there's no participation, it's going to be a real short live stream. Now, in the chat, you do have the link to become a member and the link to get on the panel. Jolanda came in the place to be. V. Bennett also came in the place to be. So, the title of this video is Open Mic, How Well Do We Know the Hieroglyphs? I have found the website that Mr. Vegas shared. And here you can see the main points of Walter Williams. For all purposes, I'm going to share this link in the chat. It says, why the Medunet chair hieroglyphics have never been deciphered. I am no student of ancient writings or symbols of Egypt. Walter Williams makes the above claim and gives the following as his reasons. In order for the Medunet chair or hieroglyphs to have been deciphered, one will have to ask the ancient Egyptians who drew the symbols what he/she meant for them to be. We can apply this reasoning. Now, this is me talking, this is me making my commentary. We can apply this reasoning with any language. None of us had to ask the ancient Greek who drew the symbols what he or she meant for them to be. None of us asked the ancient Phoenicians what they meant when they drew their symbols. So it's safe to say that this argument is out of the window. No disrespect to Walter Williams. Second point, no one can put a phonetic alphabetical value to symbols. This is exactly what was done with what we call the alphabet. The 26 letters of our alphabet, those letters are symbols, and they do have phonetic values. And in the world, there are other alphabets, and they also have phonetic values. Some of those phonetic values are the same as what we can find in our alphabet, and other alphabets don't have the same phonetic values. So we can put phonetic alphabetical value to symbols because our alphabet is made up of symbols. Even though we call them letters today, initially they were symbols. And if you don't know what's up, brothers and sisters, you have the link here. Let's have a look. There it is. We can see the symbols and how he went from the Kemetic or the Meduneter, then the Semitic, the Phoenician, the Greek, and the Roman. Alpha is a symbol, beta is a symbol, gamma is a symbol, and so on. Delta, epsilon, d gamma, gamma, eta, iota, kappa, mu, and all that good stuff. What's the other point? Another 2 points. You cannot apply a language or languages to symbols that one does not know the meaning of. Well, who knows the meaning of those Phoenician symbols that ultimately made their way into the Greek and Roman script? So that point also is invalid. We don't speak Greek. We don't speak Latin, do we? And the last point is it is impossible to reduce the 400 or more symbols of the hieroglyphs to 26 letters of the alphabetical system. Now, that talking point is quite interesting. It's as if people think that the only alphabet or alphabetical system that matters is ours. Here I'm sharing in the chat the link to Britannica's article about the standard Chinese Mandarin. And let's have a look. Look at all those sounds. A, AI, AN, ANG, AO, BA, BAI, BAN, BANG, BAO, BEI, BEN, BENG, BI, BIAN, BIAO, BIE, BIN, BING, and so on. Look at the list. Look at the list. Chang, Chi, Chong, Chu, Chu, Chua, Chuai, Chuan, Chuang, Chui, Chun, Chuo. You see the list here? There's way more than 26. Who's going to argue that the Chinese language cannot be deciphered or translated because we cannot reduce so many of their symbols into 26 letters? Now, hopefully, they will tell us how many symbols we have in the Japanese. Oh, you need to subscribe. Okay. Let's see. So here we have the kanji. I know there are many, but I want to show you some figures. Oh, there it is. Now check this out, brothers and sisters. And I will look in Britannica as well. Then put the figures there on Britannica. That's okay. It's okay. We're gonna deal with Wikipedia. So for all purposes, I'm going to share the link in the chat. There it is. And I'm going to read the first paragraph. Kanji are the logographic Chinese characters taken from the Chinese script and used in the writing of Japanese. They were made a major part of the Japanese writing system during the time of Old Japanese and are still used along with the subsequently derived syllabic script of hiragana. I can see the linguistic acrobatics coming. Hiragana, Ghana, Nyame is Yahweh. There we go. Asiatic black men on the rise. And katakana. The characters have Japanese pronunciations. Most have two, with one based on the Chinese sound. A few characters were invented in Japan by constructing character character components derived from the other Chinese characters. After World War II, Japan made its efforts to simplify the characters now known as Shin, Shinjitai by a process similar to China's simplification efforts with the intention to increase literacy among the common folk. Since the 1920s, Japanese government has published character lists periodically to help direct the education of its citizenry through the myriad Chinese characters that exist. There are nearly 3,000 kanji used in Japanese names and in common communication. So this here going to highlight it. Oh, we have our brother V Bennett in the place to be. And that's a good timing because I'm done. You see that on the screen, brothers and sisters? There are nearly 3,000 kanji used in Japanese. I'm sorry. There are nearly 3,000 kanji used in Japanese names and in common communication. And remember what was written in that article there. The last point was it is impossible to reduce the 400 or more symbols of the hieroglyphs to 26 letters of the alphabetical system. So I guess with that reasoning, with that logic, one could say it is impossible to reduce the nearly 3,000 kanji used in Japanese names and in common communication. Who is arguing that the Japanese language has not been deciphered or that it cannot be deciphered? I leave it there. V Bennett, feel free if you are here.
Yeah, Shaka, man. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you're back. Glad you're back for another round. Uh, wow, man. I mean, yesterday was a very interesting. You had an interesting guest, Brother Vegas, right? And
I'm sorry,
also, I
brother.
want
Is
to
there, is there any
apologize.
chance? Is there any chance you can use your webcam?
You might not be able to see me because I'm in the dark, but I can turn it on. That's sure. Yeah, it's me. Can you see me?
Oh, I can. Well, you might as well use the avatar. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right.
Sorry
So,
about that, man. Sorry
uh,
about that, brother.
yeah, go ahead.
But
We've seen you before.
what did I want to? What was I going to say? Oh, right. You had an interesting guest. I also wanted to apologize because I really get the sentiment about where you were going with you know all of us want to make the guests comfortable because we get more information and insight on their views if we allow that to take place. And you're excellent at that. So I want to apologize to you just because you're an expert at that. You're very
You don't need
patient.
to
It's not.
apologize, brother. Yeah, you don't need to
Yeah.
apologize, but and I think also um people didn't know that we are going to talk about the Medunatra, and some people didn't know that Mr. Vegas holds those views. I knew that he holds those views. I knew that we were going to talk about it. So for a lot of people, it might have come as a big surprise. You see,
Right.
but keep going, brother.
Well, you're right, because it came to a big surprise to me as well. And but in any case, I think it's just that I apologize because, in fact, even to myself, because you know, actually, in all regard, that's something I need to work on anyway. You see what I mean? To just because I'm surprised, I shouldn't be triggered by this, because this is the norm. This is basically the norm. So, having said that, you gave an excellent example here, and it's a simple example that anyone can find if they just want to use common sense, or at least challenge the concept. And you went out there and you said you picked something that's very close. Took a language that where their writing system uses pictorials, right? They have to do drawings to do this, right? And it's an early time period, right? You could say the script is ancient, right? So that it can be compared in a lot of ways. And yet, how many vowels and syllables and letters and all of this they have to squunch into it to be able to pass it on, and to be of use in the modern times, right? Uh, and then I was saying this yesterday. I mean, it just I know that we're in this community where we want to research and we want to prove everything, and we need direct proof for everything. But come on, man, we got people are going to Mars. Egypt is right here. I mean, that's gotta matter. Egypt's been there. Egypt's been in people's face, the focus of people's interest and desire, for a millennia, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of history, right? And we're still, I mean, just to think that question can be, or that statement can be made, that the hieroglyphics cannot be translated. I mean, it or has not been translated yet. We're in Mars. We headed to Mars. How's that possible? How does that make any sense? What is wrong with our methodology that we apply to translating the hieroglyphs, right? What's wrong with that? And what's right about our methodology to get into the outer space, into Mars? Why do we get that so correct, but we can't get the hieroglyphics correct? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if anything, I would come with the exact opposite view, that yes, anyone who wanted to usurp Egypt would make a damn good effort to know what's in those hieroglyphics. Any kingdom that wanted to take the baton from another and carry it further, you know, they would want to know. That would be of prime interest to them. What did these Egyptians write about? What is their history about? What are their secrets? What's the center of their power? What's the secret? I mean, I don't get the perspective. I don't get the perspective of where that's coming from with Walter Reed, or is that, I'm sorry, Walter Williams, the elder. But I love a lot of his work. I've been following him, and everyone respects him, and he deserves a lot of respect. But you can be wrong, and this is just one of the simple things I believe that he's just incorrect with. Now, I don't speak the Medu Netter. I don't write the Medu Netter. I'm just finding at 50 something years old that, hey, maybe I should take that up and learn it myself, just because I might find out something I couldn't imagine, right? But I
Hmm.
would never think, there's nothing in my knowledge of the history of men that would tell me that the Medu Netter would not have already been deciphered and known by people today. You see, there's just nothing that one. There's nothing I could point to that would suggest that. So I'm shocked. But the other thing I wanted to say, that about the guest, going back to the guest, I'm sorry, yesterday, there was one thing I was disappointed with, and it wasn't necessarily the perspective. it was just the swipe. There was a comment where he said, it must feel bad to have put this much time into something and to get nothing. There was some kind of comment he made about you and your work. And I just want to say, reiterate this, Shaka, I first came across you doing this work, having this interest, what, 15 years ago? You 15 years ago, you were there 15, 16 years. You were on YouTube. You was on YouTube when YouTube first came out. You were doing this, and you know what? You held your own in debates. You were shocking the conscious community. You were shaking things up. You were a serious part of it. And so when I heard that comment, it just reminded me of something very hateful inside of our people. Sometime, I mean, we have to learn to just give credit where credit is due and be supportive. And I didn't see it. Maybe that's what helped me unleash some of my pettiness in some of my comments. But when I heard that comment, I just thought, like, it reminded me of something that I deeply, deeply do not like to see or hear or have anyone exhibit around me. And it's not even just about you. It's just we have to have we got to hold up people that make effort, man. We got to give credit where credit is due. And I know there's no way in hell that your work is gone to waste. Hey, man, you inspired me. You inspired me 15 years. I got tired of listening to the conscious kooks out there, right? I got tired. I left. I mean, there are better things to do than to listen to some of these kooks. But that shouldn't have never had to be the case, because our people have strived to have commune together in many ways for the betterment of our minds, bodies, and souls for generations. And it seems like when we try to do this, other elements come into play that rip it apart. And I expected more out of Mr. Vegas in terms of that, talking to you. That's all I'm saying, So I just want Mr. Vegas to hear me and hear me well. If you don't know Shaka and Dugu Komet's work, and you don't know how many people benefit from it, then get off the stage, man. Get back
No, no,
down here
be
to earth.
diplomatic, please.
To
I don't want to
Rinko.
be. I don't want to be in a delicate
Oh
situation
no, no,
because.
no, but it's
Yeah.
not you. I'm sorry, it's not you. And I mean, I'm sure I would love to meet him myself and say the same thing. It's not out of hate. I'm just saying,
Mm.
yo, Shaka, you've helped a lot of people, and it hasn't been on stage. It hasn't been with the music. It's been with things that a lot of us really need to hear that we have no other access to. You're gonna get access to this in elementary school. You're going to get access to this in high school. I mean, why do our kids have to wait to go to university to hear something about this? You see what I mean? You can go
And
hear trap music. They can hear trap music though. You see what I mean?
yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say to you, man. I'm always here for you, brother. Just as a brother. You in Europe. Do we have to stand together?
Yes, we have to stand together.
We have to stand together. We have to
Mhm.
stand together. That's a whole nother thing a lot of people don't know anything about or don't even consider.
Mhm.
What's it like being a black man in Europe? So when I saw you discussing these things, I knew right away, hey, France is in the house. France has a proud community of Africans. They've been standing up and doing this for a long time. So we gotta give credit where credit is due. You've been here, Shaka. So I'm with you, man. If you say you give me a criticism, I'm gonna think about it, man.
Appreciate that, brother. And I think I think I recall at one point where he said something like that, but I didn't take it like he was saying that like just to me, but it's like to people in general. And I may say something similar talking about the Hezekiah seal. I think I even say, how does he feel now to know that your king, had the ankh and stuff like that. So I didn't take it, any kind of way because that's his stance. His stance is that it hasn't been deciphered. So, um, but I know it comes from Walter Williams, and it would be lovely for Walter Williams to change his stance, but I think it's quite unlikely.
You
But at
know,
least
you
we'll
know,
have. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Sarnetta's channel the other day, they were discussing the issue of the metal netter came up, right? Just maybe 3 4 days ago. I forget what day it was, right? But when Walter Williams was speaking and the issue came up of the metal netter, Sa shut it down immediately, and he said Walter Williams does not he doesn't read or write the metal netter. He doesn't deal with the metal netter. So to me, that sounds like a slight change, because not dealing with it is a whole nother thing from saying it can't be deciphered. And I just wanted to ask you this, Shaka. How long ago was that his position? And have you heard anyone in recent times speak on that, on Walter Williams' position on the metal netter? Is that yeah, I'll leave it there. And thank you too, man. I'm here for you, bro, and I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. I appreciate
Yeah.
it, brother. The claim I think was made 30 years ago. I think his book was released in 1992, but I'll have to check. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember that it was released on the Maathian press, Maat, Maathian, and we know that he greets saying Maat Hotep. But I
Right.
brought that up, to Mr. Vegas yesterday, and I've said this for years. Actually, it's not the first time I said that. Um, One time I've heard Rikedi Amen, who's been teaching the Medu Necher for more than 30 years. Uh, she was she was being interviewed. She was being interviewed at the radio. I forgot the name of the radio, and the person asked her about Walter Williams' claim, but she in a nutshell, she responded that he was deciphered. She said that there's some areas where, I'm paraphrasing, but there's some areas where we're not sure, but it's been deciphered. But I think she was just being diplomatic. I think she was being diplomatic. She was probably, I'm not in her mind, I'm not in her head, but I mean, for years I've been saying that claiming that the Medu Neter has not been deciphered is, unfortunately, with all due respect to anybody that holds those views, is irresponsible. But
I believe so.
yeah, but earlier you said that you're thinking about learning the Meta Nature. This is the book that I recommend to everybody if they want to learn it on their own. It's Being Manly, and it's called Egyptian Hieroglyphs for Complete Beginners. I think it's, in my opinion, it's one of the best book for beginners. And for those who don't know, I'm giving classes, and we have the sister Sean G. Kem, who wrote, "I'm proud to say I'm one of Bro Shaka's Medunecha students." But let's let our brother Osai Mka, who actually have credentials in the field of Egyptology from a university, and he never
I
boasted
don't
about
even
that,
say that. Yeah, I don't say
you know.
nothing.
Well, you
I,
show you
I
showed it
watch.
you showed it on already during the stream. And it's a university that's among the top 50 in the world in terms of ranking. But feel free, Hotep sent you Osaimka. Feel free to speak, brother.
Imitatsena kwasti jalan kujasena dua henu dua family. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, family, for having me. That's what we saying. Um, it's so funny to me. Uh, and I've watched some of the people from the conscious community pull up work from that university and not even know it was one of my homework papers. It's two people who did
Mhm.
it. So if you run into the King Tut gold plated staffs, which you know when you look at the excavation and see them there and you get to observe them through the university findings and you see I wrote the paper on that, and then you go to the other one where we talk about the arrowheads for the ancient bullets, because I've fought for the grandeur part of my years, maybe since I was 7. I've been prize fighting or training in it. So that's what I wanted my uh certificate to be in, was that. Get off of there. My buddy trying to call me. Uh but the funny thing about this whole topic is this. We got mostly our Hebrew brothers touting this. There was some on Smash's show last night. Our Hebrew brothers need to just calm down. They if they really did the homework, and we haven't really exposed it though it's so well known in academia, just not to them. The Hebrew was redeciphered because of the Medu Neter.
Right. I heard that. Yeah, yeah. I was there with you, brother, yesterday. I was there.
That's right.
That was a heck of a bill. Keep going
Yeah,
though. I thought you were going to continue. Keep going. Keep going.
yeah, yeah. So the other thing is that when it comes to falling out of use, Hebrew falls out of use before Medu Neter. So it's the priest Philo. You know what I'm saying? The priest Philo is the one who actually starts to bring the Hebrew back to the Hebrews because all that they were speaking was Greek. So the Septuagint confirms this. The Aristeas letters confirm this. The first Christian school of history, which is in Alexandria, confirmed this, and a few other sources confirm this concerning that particular thing. So I just tell everybody, pump your brakes. If we can't speak Medu Neter, how did you guys start speaking Hebrew? If we can't speak Medu Neter, why do we have letters from Egyptians and Hittites? Why do in the Akkadian and in the Hittite? Why do we have full-blown conversations, the Armaner letters, with different countries and an Egyptian king? A few of them.
Mhm.
Everybody understood then. All of a sudden, you don't know you needed an Egyptian all of a sudden? No. So when you go over these things, you see how decipherment works. When you have an identical script, which we do, we've got about 3 of them. Because remember, see, everybody runs to the Rosetta Stone, but you forget about the Palermo Stone. You forget about the Hittite Treaty, which is a totally different language than Greek. You understand? So there's a bunch of ways it could have been done. It just happened to go off of the Rosetta Stone. And I'll end with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Another inter. Oh,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead,
No, no,
Shaka.
no, no. Feel free, brother. Feel free.
No, because I want to. Are you probably going to comment on the script? So I don't want to skip over. I was going to jump somewhere to
Well,
another part
honestly,
aspect.
I like I've been speaking about this claim for years, so I I uh, I'd rather hear what you have to say. That would be something insight to me. Yes, because maybe some people don't know. But I've been talking about this for a long time. I've had issue with that claim for a long time. So just go ahead, brother. Go ahead, you Bennett.
Well, that it was a few actually there were maybe 2 or 3 times in the build where this same dynamic came up. And it's a similar one to the Hezekiah seal. Like, why does the Hezekiah seal have the unk on it? Okay. And then it comes down to when they got into discussing somewhere, I forget, was it one of the Bible verses? Uh, and it's described as one God is described as being the Father, and in the same small 2 sentence paragraph, or what do you call that, verse, right? It's describes the next God as having a womb, like literally. Did you catch that? Did you catch the that cast last night on Smash, Shocker, yourself?
I've listened to a great part of it, but not all of it. I
You
actually, when the guy forgot his name, Zab or something like that, when he came on, I couldn't anymore. And I was going to work anyway. But I've spoken to him when I was on Chief X channel, and his main point was that, well, how come in Kemet they were black, but in the same region these other people are not black? And as you have heard, he talked about, oh, you have the equator. According to him, because you live in a certain, I leave it there, man. I leave it there.
Yeah, you can't cross
But
the desert. You
yeah,
can't cross the desert. That's a
but the thing is that he what was he saying again? Um, like Smash told him, Cam means black, and he kept saying, and this just like people say the Medunacha has not been deciphered. We have a lot of people who say, oh, no, 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 no.
Oh no, in ancient times, those people were not black because black is a social construct. Black is a modern. I'm like, that's in English. The word black exists in other languages. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And when I asked him if he knows James P. Allen, he said no. So I'm not gonna fault him for that. But James P. Allen is considered an authority. He's a very well-known Egyptologist, and he's of European descent. So nobody's gonna accuse him of being a Afrocentrist or Afrocentric. And he translated Henenit Kem as Henenit the Black. But those people now
Mhm.
they're gonna say, oh, but yo, he might say the black, but that's not what he. I mean, what are they talking about? And but it's okay. Feel free to add on, brother.
This stuff
Right.
is
It's
crazy. They crazy, family. Y'all know. Y'all both of y'all been privy to these conversations. Black is not a social construct. It's a color. And actually
Yes.
it's the essence that color comes from. Race is a social construct because you're only human. But we've recognized that we have hues in our skin. When we refer to the old term Kim, just like the ancient Egyptians did, or the ancient Kemetiyu or Kemwit did, it was very clear because they did, the term for brown is Kim. The term for if I wanted to call you light skinned black, it would be Kim. You black. The
right.
problem is, and then they say stupid stuff. They say stuff like, it's not like the Africans compared to ancient times do it how we do it now. No, they were worse. They were worse
Yeah.
because, and this is what kills me. No, they didn't see that. The first thing you read is Herodotus's books. This race of
Right.
Arabs who had this type of skin and this type of hair, this race of Asians, and you could tell because their eyes were shaped a certain way and their hair was a certain way. He'd given you all the racial profiling you need to know who's who in the ancient world. So does
Right.
Diodorus Siculus, so does Plotinus. So name one.
Right.
Name an Egyptian. They're going to tell you the same thing. The reason we
Mhm.
know why Me- uh I think it's Menelaus or he's
Me-
got the two big statues in Egypt, the 720-ton ones. Memnon. The reason we know
Nimrod, Menrod,
uh,
Menon, or
Memnon,
who?
Memnon.
Okay, Memnon. Yeah.
Memnon. Some people
Mhm.
say it might be Amenhotep the third, but he's known as Memnon. Memnon, yes,
The
indeed.
the
Very
reason we
damaged
know,
statues, like the Colossus. You have two. Yeah, go ahead, brother Samka.
yeah, and they sitting on the chair. He's sitting on the chair in those. The reason we know he's black and Ethiopian is because Homer was so descriptive with his situation in the Iliad, when him and Achilles were fighting, he said where he came from. He said what he looked like. He said that he cutted Achilles, and Achilles, after killing him, dies later because he was wounded. We know exactly what he looks like, and we got a statue on top of that. But just the point, back in the day, cats keep making this false dichotomy. Oh, race wasn't really used like that. That's all they talked about was culture.
You, you know something, brother? Also, to that point you were making, actually everything that the brother said pretty much with this whole idea, he mixed up the Arabs with the Libyans, right? Because of the, where they this line he had.
Keep going.
But that's one thing because they're not the same. But even they aren't the same. But the thing is that he contradicts their own understanding of themselves also. So not only does it flip the script on black Africans, it flipped the script on Arabs and Libyans and everybody else. It's just like, what's going on here? Nobody's nobody anymore. And
No,
so I just didn't. But it turned out to be a troll. It's what the reason was. It was a troll. That's what it came down to. But still, what was I going to say about this? I myself, I don't understand. It's not this troll that was the problem for me. The problem is the other stuff because, like you said, Walter Williams, when he makes a comment like that, the community listens. When he said the meta netta can't be cannot be deciphered or hasn't been deciphered, people believe him. They go back and listen to him saying that, and people don't even know if his position has changed. His position may have changed, but I think it would be so great if he came out and spoke on it. He said on Sai's show, it was several times where people asked him, maybe once or twice, where he explained it as that was some not in regarding the metal matter, but a few other topics. He admitted, he said, well, that was my position then. But what you do when you're researching and you find out that something is not correct, you adjust it and you correct it and you change your position. So I think it's not necessarily totally Walter Williams. It's us, man. It's just our scholarship, our due diligence. It's common sense, like we just said. How you gonna go to Mars? How you gonna go to Mars and you can't decipher the hieroglyphics that are right here? How's that rationally possible? You could figure out the physics and
But you know,
math
bro.
to,
Mm.
to that degree, but you can't figure out that language that's been sitting on those stones right in your face as the envy and the marvel of every human. That hasn't been figured out, and it's reachable. It's in your hand. You could touch it. I just, I would never, I could never concede to something like that. I just, I don't see how that makes any sense.
And you know, it's so strange that they say the Medu nature has not been deciphered, but they don't say the same for the cuneiform. You know, we're not there. It's also well, the cuneiform is a script. You know, many languages were written with it, but nobody's using that script anymore. You see, so I would have loved to hear that part that you just mentioned from Walter Williams, but it will do a great service to the community because people listen to him. But then it is what it is. I mean, you know, we went through the text, we made. I mean, it's just sad, but that's life. That's life. But it's a shame that they don't apply that same reasoning and methodology for other ancient languages. That's really that's one of the things that really bothers me. You know, not just that they claim that he hasn't been deciphered, and some people said, and I think I heard Walter Williams say that he will never be deciphered. I think there was a time when Reggie proposed to go three against him, and I'm like, well, for you to say it's not deciphered, and but then you say it will never be deciphered, as I mean, it will never be deciphered. It's like you're indoctrinating people to
Right.
reject any idea, any notion of it being translated. In the meantime, like I've said several times, there's not a single PhD that says that the Medu Neter has not been deciphered. Now we no longer listen to the experts and the specialists. Now we're on somewhere. My friend said it, so I go by what my friend said. But yeah, this conscious
Right.
community likes to talk about scholarship and being scientific. So it is, and but that's life. You know, that's life. You know, hopefully maybe one day he change his stance, and if he doesn't, then we have to keep it pushing. But we have people who say, well, you know, when they say black, that's not what they meant. Yeah, they don't know the language. They know what they meant, but they don't know the language, you know.
It can't mean black. It can't mean black like we mean here in America. Well, what color is it? Did the color change when you went to when you went to England? Did black change? No. When you go to China, does black change? No. And it comes with stereotypes in that country. What are you talking about? So these guys. The thing is this: Walter Williams is 92. He's got a certain
91.
legacy. Or yeah, I'm sorry, and he's got a certain legacy and he's going to be known by it. And all we're doing, all Sarnet is doing, is giving him his just due, which is fine because he's an elder. Let his work
Right.
stand because he had good works. That just happens to be one of his works that is not on point, and probably may have been more on point when he wrote it than it is today because there's so much information about the
Right.
language today that obviously it has, there was probably a few uh glyphs at the time he mentioned it, a couple medu words, if you will, uh that hadn't been deciphered. Fine. But without question, the majority of them are today. To graduate from a Japanese or Chinese school, you have to memorize 10,000 characters. It's 10 to 15,000. Otherwise, you can't graduate. So you better know tadaima, domo arigato, all that. You better know all of that, right? Because otherwise, you can't have a conversation. And what happens to a lot of them is they go to parts of town which are more Mongol. They go to parts of town that is from this particular dynasty, the Chan dynasty, or they go to, and guess what? They can't read everything up there. But with the 10,000 that they have, they're able to make out signs with no trouble. Why? Because this part of town knows it, this part of town is familiar with it, and they can all agree on certain signs and they have an understanding. I'm sure no one's had a problem reading men's bathroom over there in ages. And so when we make this pseudo stuff up, it hasn't been deciphered, it hasn't been this. What's your proof? What do you stand on to say it hasn't? If I've read Medu Neter here that tells me I can find a burial place over in the South, and I go to the South and I start digging up the bodies and I find the same name I was looking for, guess what? Decipherment conclusion. Yeah, how did I get there? What was I reading if it wasn't right? Did I just get that lucky? Oh, we're going to do it again. We're going to go to the East Delta. We should find Asiatics over there. So these are the things that kind of shoot them in the foot. Besides the fact that you've got full-blown treaties, you've got statements in the past that say that there were Egyptian translators that knew the other languages of the people, which tells you Africa made up most of the scripts and the sounds for the other cultures. For my brothers listening, Africa made up the scripts and the sounds for the other cultures. So when you get the English, you're still using African sounds. You're just using a different script. But for my brothers who don't know, all sounds made were encompassed in African languages without question. And the advantage for us is that we have extra ones that other cultures don't with the clicks, because we would try to distract animals. We would communicate to animals. We would remember, they said some of the syncephalous apes were able to talk. We obviously see them depicted in pictures with the ancient Egyptians. So we see them with the ancestors in the pictures. They said in the script, some of them were able to talk, not a whole long sentence, but they could say certain words is what they were saying. I don't know if that's true. What I do know is this. That's what they put. We watched Mugabe teach apes how to shoot and help win them a war. Did we not just watch that in modern times? Yeah. So so let's not act like apes are totally incapable, because before you play a video game, guess who tests it out? Guess who tests it out? Guess who passes every level and beats the bosses? It ain't you. It's an ape. Guess who? See, when science really smack you in the face for real. So let's not be pseudo and start saying stuff like, oh, this is not done. They couldn't have did this. They couldn't have. They got apes playing video games. The human mind could do what it wants to do. And we can do what we need to do. And it is what it is. Y'all know what it is.
And I think maybe you've seen it, brothers. That ape who knows the sign language. I mean, he might be dead now, but did you see that
Just
video?
passed away. Yup.
Yeah. People,
Said the
if
world
people
is in
understood,
trouble.
yeah.
Needs to take care of its water supply and be more courteous to nature. And
Mm. Now, yeah, you might see it on YouTube, brothers. If you type in, a ape or monkey sign language, and you will see. Um, I'm quite tired, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna let first V Bennett make his closing remarks.
and then I'm going to let Osam come make his closing remarks. So feel free, brother V. Bennett.
Oh man, what can I say? I'm just glad to join you guys for another small chat. But I really want you to I mean, what I got out of this Shaka is like, I mean, the last this last show you had was just that we have to do more to support people that bring resources um to us, you know. And like I always say, I always the brothers that or sisters, people that provide tools, I always say thank you because you make it easy for us. That means you're doing work I don't have to do. I can sit back and chill, and while you're preparing the notes, I can forget stuff. I could take stuff for granted. You see what I mean? And I could do that for years. One other thing I wanted to say that Shaka, that you do also that's outside of your work with the metal netter and outside it, I wanted to ask you a question, but I wanted to say this first too. Outside of that, what a lot of people need to know is if they haven't realized it, you have documented a lot of the conscious community over these 15 years. So you have a catalog of these of different persons' perspectives and how they've maybe changed or stayed the same or blossomed. You have that. That's an archive, brother. That's a huge archive, and I really hope more of us take that serious and utilize that, you know, and benefit from it because I know you have it. You see what I mean? And I think we got to stop clowning people like yourself, brother. We got to stop playing these games. Some of us are serious, some of us are dedicated, um, and you're one of those people. You sacrifice a lot for it. I'm assuming you're not rich, right?
Yeah, not
I'm
not at
assuming.
all.
Right. And this is where we have to start keeping it real with each other because just on a basic level, these are the things that we're supposed to be supporting. People that are steadfast, people that are focused, and people that provide tools with what they have. And you provide tools to us, man. So I wanted to thank you for that again. I didn't get to ask you this one question.
Go ahead, feel free.
Um, the question is, when did you first think about when did your first and when did you first become interested in Egypt or the metal netter? When did you really first say, hey man, this is something I want to spend some time and focus on?
Mhm. Um, the first time I would say I started being interested with Egypt is I grew up in a Christian family, but I really liked history, and I was reading about history. I mean, I know I've said it before, but the question was asked, so there's no harm in repeating yourself. Um, the more I will read about history, and the less likely the biblical narrative seemed to be, particularly the Exodus story, because as I grew up in a Christian family, believing in the Bible and all, I thought that the majority of the stories actually took place in history. And the more time went, the more I read about history, the more I realized that it's just so much less and less and less. And then Egypt, I would say, is the missing link in Black history, and that's why the video that is now called Kemet and Ma'at, which really is Introduction to Kemet, and people can see the title, and the subtitle is the missing link in Black history. You see, we know and we are interested in so many cultures, but as a whole, Black people, because of the Abrahamic narrative, the Exodus story, and Pharaoh being one of the worst person on the planet Earth, and Pharaoh is the title, by the way, not a name. So, because of that, people are deterred from being interested with Kemet. It's almost like ancient Egypt. It's almost like it's a curse word for Abrahamic believers. So I started seeing it from another light, and then thanks to the internet and being able to connect with people. And back then, I mean, before the live streams, it used to be on message board. So all these IDs, we
Mhm.
used to share them in writing. And after that, here comes the Blog Talk Radio. Oh, boom! Now we can do it like with our voice speaking. And then finally, we finally had the streaming option on YouTube. Uh, they had the Google Hangout, and then Hangout ended, and now we have the StreamYard and so many other um, uh, live streaming platforms. So the tool now, the fact that we can live stream live and direct and share videos and share links, share books, PDFs. I mean, it's almost another dimension, you know. But when it comes to the Metal Nature, I first bought a book and I kept it as a souvenir for a very long time. Uh, I wouldn't say it's a horrible book, but it wasn't the best book to learn the Metal Nature. And I was just confused about the transliteration, so I left it alone. But then there's the guy who made the who uploaded the video claiming that there's a hieroglyphic symbol meaning Allah, and I was like, what the heck? Like I'm like, if that was true, then people would have talked about it. So I know Elder who's familiar with the Meta, and I thought about sending him an email. But one thing with me, I don't like to ask too much, and I really don't like to wait on people. So I'm like,
Mm,
okay, let me watch. I had Burge back then, the Burge book about the Peret Emheru of Ani, or Papyrus of Book of the Dead, misnomer Book of the Dead of Ani. Is the one with the hieroglyphic transcript. I actually showed the um, the book cover in the video, and it was like an initiation to me, you know, because I went through that book, and I showed to the people, look, this glyph that it says means Allah, you have it there, and you see the translation, it's like to give, you know. And I show all, I mean, not all, but so many pages where this symbol occurs, you know, this glyph, which is the arm with the cone of bread in the palm. So I would say that was kind of my initiation, and then I was lucky to come across some softwares. That's why it wasn't too difficult for me to learn on my own, because I could hear the sound and get a better insight. And then I moved to the different books, you know. So yeah, in a nutshell, yeah, in a nutshell, that's how it occurred.
okay, but you first got interested. How many years ago was that? How old was you
Oh,
roughly? Roughly.
actually, I started my website in 2004. I was 22.
There you go. There you go, man. I mean, that tells us a lot. I mean, you know, that tells me something. Because it's not everyone doesn't begin to maybe apply themselves at the same exact age. So now I got a good idea about what that is, man. I congratulate you on that.
Thank
I
you. But
congratulate you on that. Yeah.
it was a very long journey. Sometimes I talk about it, but I try not to be too long-winded about it, because a lot of people don't realize, you know, like not long ago, you know, Unc labeled me Frenchy. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's like that,
Oh
Unc,
my
for real. But I didn't take
God.
offense at this. I say I'm not mad at you, but it's a typical thing now. Now people are cool with you as long as you agree, and when you don't agree, then oh, you're from here, you're from there, you know.
Hmm.
But I mean, there was a time, man. I mean, I was slandered like profanity. My mother, my father. I mean, that was just weird. That was just weird.
Oh,
All of that.
oh, wait a second. I missed that part. You did somehow you mentioned it vaguely, but you know what, Shaka? When I fell out of not fell out, when I fell out of watching the conscious community on YouTube, that's like maybe, I don't know, 10 years, 7, 8, 10 years ago, maybe, right?
Mm,
Uh Now this is because of the
mm,
cursing and the fighting among our own people about stuff that can be discussed. I mean, you've seen some of the foulness going on, and but that made me just step back a bit, man, because I just couldn't deal with that part of it. But
eh, You know,
you know what?
just before you continue, there's one funny thing is that I wanted to show the comment from the brother, and he talked about Reggie. When Reggie came on, he was like, "Well, Southside said he, you know, he's foul mouthed, you know, he's cursing." But lately, we've heard Reggie. Hey,
Right.
Reggie's been cursing a lot, so life is ironic sometimes. But feel free, keep
But you
going.
know what? My problem wasn't even with Seti's cursing. That's the thing about it, because he has some kind of. I mean, I hate to say I didn't like it, but I could see him often responding to attacks, also, and maybe becoming frustrated. But it's not an excuse. But here's the thing,
Well, no,
you know.
but there's some truth to what you're saying because a lot of people haven't seen when SETI came out. He wasn't just cursing like that, but
No, he
he
wasn't
like
exactly
yeah, the way people hate on Jabari, that's how people used to hate on SETI. So some
on
people,
Seti.
that's 2008. SETI
Yeah.
was the main guy in the conscious community. And
Yep.
everybody hated on him because people didn't really know him like that. And he had the video call. I forgot the full title, but it was about the Moors being traitors.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
the false teachings of the Moorish Science
Of the.
Temple of America.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
Then
Exactly.
the debate was scheduled with Alim Bey. People knew Alim Bey,
Yep.
so I never went in the
Yep.
street to get some what's the word again? Not predictions, but I forgot the word escapes me. But uh, people, the majority of people were saying, Alim Bey is gonna win. Alim Bey is gonna win. Seti, I mean, no disrespect to Alim Bey, but
Yeah.
Seti just destroyed Alim Bey. It was a slaughter. I was like, dang. And then that's it. The rest is history. But yeah, keep going, brother.
Right. And so I stepped out of that for a minute, but then what was I going to say? Somehow I came back into this. Oh man, you made me forget my thought. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I was going somewhere with this, but yeah, you told me that I witnessed when they first started coming at you.
Mm.
That was when I started to just go back a little bit and just say some of this foolishness. But I remember them coming at you, but I never heard you. I didn't hear what happened. And now you're telling me people came after your family or people threatened or just what is this, man? You talking about brothers from the US?
Man, it it's brothers that we know well as a team, but it was mainly one guy. The uh
The head of the
oh
snake.
no, no, that's nothing here. But kinetic energy is talking about Garfield wasn't happy, but it was let's say the Asiatic black man who was part of the team or the squad. Just because he lied on air about his passport. So he made an anonymous lander video, and my mother, my father, myself, a whole
So
lot of
foul.
profanity. And when I say anonymous, is those the softwares where you type and you have a robotic voice. I suspected
Hmm.
it might have been him, but I had no proof. One funny thing is that he was a member of the squad. One funny thing is that when that YouTube account was created and that anonymous lender video was uploaded, thank you, Kinetic Energy, for the donation. Who subscribed to that channel? Brother Unc. So I'm like, oh, what a coincidence. That channel was
Mm.
just created with an anonymous lender video, and here, out of nowhere, Unc happens to know about it and he subscribes to it. So I made a screen print, and you guys know how I do, and I show. And then one day I
Mm.
called, after a while of me not, I called the show, and I had an exchange with the Asiatic black man who was supposed to be wise and civilized, and he started cursing me. You know what I'm saying? F boy, all crazy and stuff like that. So I said, yeah, you're looking, man. You know, jungle fever powers, because a lot of people didn't know that the dude, though he's like, he's a former NOI member,
Mm.
talking other black talk, but he's actually not with a black lady. That's why he got kicked out of the Black Power cartel. But so I just said that, and then I left, because usually when people curse, I don't spend too much time because only it's gonna escalate. So I left, and
Mhm.
as I left, what did he do? He repeated verbatim what was said in the anonymous lender video. But when I say verbatim, it's like he couldn't have just listened to it and replay it until he learned it. And so I knew he came from it. So then I said, so and so busted in anonymous lender video. So it was a bad look for them. And some people have witnessed what took place then.
But years later, Uncle apologized, and a
Mm.
while later, when we were on Smash Rockwell, I was like, me, I never understood all that, because when I found out that they were defending the anti-black and anti-African teachings, that Africans are Africans are not civilized, that Africans are living a jungle life, that black means death, I decided to bounce, and I made a video and I said I'm disassociating myself from such crew. And then I came up with a video, White Semites Black Awakening, and all of a sudden they're attacking me. So I will reply, I will reply. So recently, Onk just told me, I was salty when you left, because you were valuable. You go to the museum and all that. I was like, okay, all right, but I can respect that he apologized. You know what I'm saying? So I accepted his apology, and we've been cool. Now recently, I mean, some people, unfortunately, sometimes if you don't agree with them, um, they, man, it's life. It's life. It's all good. It was what it was. It was what it was.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and but that's a testament. I just want to say,
But
even
I'm sorry,
you're
I
a
forgot to
strong
say
brother, man.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
lost 7,000 subscribers in the process. So I
Yeah,
lost
hey, hey,
20,000.
hey, but
Yeah,
on that one, Shaka, what I'm
yeah.
gonna say is like, the bottom line is that is there was no excuse for that. And the bottom line is that it's totally out of bounds, totally wrong. And I'm gonna tell you straight out. I'm gonna tell you this. I mean, the bottom line is, uh, you know how to defend yourself. You know how to defend your family. So, you know, I just, I just really, I think some of us brothers from the U.S. I'm from D.C. myself, man,
Mm,
but I live outside. I live in Copenhagen, right? So I've traveled a bit. So
mm,
a lot of us in the U.S. we don't realize that some of the brothers in Europe ain't no punks at all. Seriously. Like,
mm,
I mean, what you want, a judo kick in your head, or what do you want? Which way do you want? Because a lot of the brothers here have to grow up being chased down and beat up by other people. Got to learn how to defend themselves. And then to have a black brother attack and a black brother not realize that, yo, we have to get way beyond that. And I'm disappointed in Unc that he can't see that. We all supposed to see that. Said he could see that. I used to rap to Seti all the time. Said he could
mm,
see that. I mean, we supposed to be family. So there's no place in that, man. There's no place in that where that was supposed to happen, bro. But
mm,
as the man you are, you still here. You still here, man. And I think that in itself, people don't yet know what the power of that is. But just don't go for it twice, man. Recognize everybody is not your brother. I hate to
mm.
say it like that, and recognize some of us brothers do get jealous and petty. And
Yeah.
I hate to say
And
that. I hate to
we're
say
seeing
that.
that with Jabari. With Jabari, we're seeing that, it's so obvious. People have been saying it for years, you know?
And if you look at the beauty of what our past generation did, they wasn't talking about none of this petty stuff. They didn't have that petty stuff.
No,
They didn't have it. You
no.
see what I mean? They had common sense. They knew there was no issue whatsoever. Today it seems like, I don't know if it's the digital age with the where we, every time you upload something it spreads to a million people and then it seems bigger than what it is. But
Mm,
we need to learn how to just accept each other and learn more about each other and become whole, because if we're not becoming whole, we on the way out of here. You see
mm.
what I mean? We on the
But
way out.
in my opinion, one of the reasons why there's so much of this stuff going on today is because now there's teams, there's crews, so they feel like they are established. They feel like they are the big boss on the block, and you're supposed to kind of get along or agree with the whole team, But the sad thing is, that, I mean, if you look at the Dagger Squad and you look at Sabio, Kayal is Dagger Squad member. He put Sabio on black ice because Sabio doesn't know how to act sometimes.
Hmm.
So uh, um there's a team that we know well, you know, and sometimes it's incompatible. You know, you cannot have on one hand, people who talk about Black African power, and the other hand, a guy who's a member of an organization that says that Africans are living a juggle life and black means death.
Exactly.
So
It's,
people, take your time if you want to come up with some teams. You see. So because back then, the scholars that we know, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Runoko Rashidi, we did not really know them as part of teams. It was the individual teaching and, being more or less acquainted with different scholars. But now, like, we have the crew, like we see what's going on with Garfield. Garfield has a
mhm,
crew. And if you don't agree with Garfield, all of a sudden, most of the people from his crew is gonna, talk bad about you and slander you, blah blah blah. Not all of them, but that's just how it is, and it's just sad. It's just really really sad, you know. But I mean, it is what it is. That people can see through the mud. I guess we're trying to get some clarity, but now we're in a situation where there's even censorship in the chats. We have the same people in the same platform, and they're censoring people, disrespecting
mm,
people. So I mean, it's just a shame because we're wasting time. Now people can come up with some Hollywood scenario, and we have a whole bunch of people who believe it. You know, just like we have people
right.
who say, okay, the meta nature has not been deciphered, like Walter Williams, and now we have a whole bunch of people who believe it. I mean, you remember the time, because I see you were there when SETI was there, 2008. Do you remember how much the Moors and the metaphysicians used to be on the scene? I mean,
Oh yeah,
people used to come,
definitely.
oh man, the
The study used to
crystals,
go through them one by one.
yeah, the root chakra, the alkaline water. Oh man, you just, man, everybody was into that. People
Hey,
used to
but
talk about
listen,
the land of
you know,
the Lemuria, Atlantis. But go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
well, I mean, I don't know how far I want to go with this, but I could tell you, Seti knows those groups. He knows those groups. He even said he used to be down with the Moors. His uncle was down with the Moors. I think
Yeah,
that's what Seti said. Something like,
I remember. Yeah, I
so,
remember him
right.
saying that. Yes.
So he knows not only the teachings, but how they get down for real. You
Mm-hmm.
see, it's just also the same thing with the NOI historically. The NOI didn't just have teachings. If you were anywhere around where there was NOI in substantial numbers, you also would hear about how they get down in reality, what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing, what the other little things. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so the thing about it is that Dr. Ben wasn't down with none of that. Sheikh Anta Diop wasn't down with none of that. They were actually scholars. They were
Yeah.
actually just doing the scholarship, just
Mm-hmm.
doing the scholarship. You see, and I
Yeah.
think somewhere inside of our body in the US, it's some people see it as something that lifts, maybe they can get some sort of other benefit outside of educating and seeing the whole community rise as whole. Some people see it more as like a group thing, you know, this kind of stuff. And it's like, nah, man, it's just for us all to improve ourselves and to better our understanding of our own history and how the world works. I mean, Egypt, for example, all those societies that they're talking about, they're not jokes. I mean, how can you talk about the Moors and not know nothing about the Inquisition? I mean, then they got the Moors talking about the Jews, and it's like, yo, wasn't y'all both part of the Inquisition? I mean, then they go over to the US and they say things like, yeah, well, Muslims were here. We were here first. We were here first. But what was you doing?
Doing
What,
treaties.
what were
They
you
love to
doing
say.
there?
They
You know
love
what I'm
to say
saying?
Morocco made treaties as if it was them.
Yo, Morocco was the first country to acknowledge the United States as a nation. Why? Why? You see what I'm saying? In what time period? You see what I mean? So I don't get it. I don't get it. It just, seems like you said, teams. I got this team, and if I win, I get some money. The $500 this weekend for who can win the debate. It's like, I don't know. And I'm not trying to knock the fundraising, and people should be able to build their communities off of knowledge and build their communities off of hard work, period, right? And make their communities safe. But this is about mental sanity and mental health for our kids. And wholeness. We've been ripped away from our lands, ripped away from our culture, ripped away from our languages, ripped away from every single thing, freedom, period. And yet, some of us handle it like it's a joke.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
and reclaiming the actual real history, what really happened to us, is a very serious thing. And we can't be taken serious if we don't have a hold on it as an individual. So people are going to be, I mean, can you imagine? I don't want to go on. Asar, please, brother.
I think it's probably doing something. He'll be back. Just go, keep going, keep going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to become frustrated, but here's the thing. This is what I see. This is what I see. And I don't like to talk down about my brothers. Who would? I shouldn't even have to say that. What good brother likes to talk down, right? About his own, right? But I think the bottom line is that we have to get back to serious. This conscious community, people that are discussing these matters openly on camera, um, and spreading the information or disinformation, we have to get serious with quashing it. It's no reason why we need to be, 100 years behind philosophically, 100 years behind historically. There's no reason. We're not sharing, like you said, we're not saying, a lot of us are totally going against what the broad community of science agrees on, you know?
Well,
So,
hold that thought, brother
yeah.
V Bennett. We have our brother Daniel Heru Hotep
What's
Set
up,
E.
Hotep Sin?
What's up,
What
son?
up, Hotep Sinu?
Oh,
How you
oh,
been?
wow. Wow.
Simpson,
Blessings.
new family. What's up?
So
Hey, I
what?
got a
You know?
question. I got a question for y'all. I don't know. I think Asari has probably left, but I got a question, and this is just something I've been posing because I've been listening to Reggie, and others talk about Dr. Williams, Dr. Walter Williams, and talking about if the hieroglyph has ever been deciphered. Right? This has been kind of an ongoing thing. And one of the things that he proposes is, and I'm taking it from his position, and I would say I am a student and a fan of Dr. Walter Williams, but he proposes that the hieroglyph is only a sign, it's a symbol. And the only way that you can know if it's a symbol is if the person who wrote it, which is the ancient Egyptians, told you what it was, correct? So in my
Right.
mind, what I thought was this: okay, so let's take his position and let's vet it. Everything, like I like kind of do like even if it's at the minimum way, is like doing it like a scientific method, right? But just logic. So we know that the ancient Egyptians, through Thebes, to Cairo, they had the priesthood in different temples, right? And we know that there was, according to the Rosetta Stones, we have the hieroglyphics, and we got the demonic and the heretic, right? But what we find out is that when the Egyptians came in, I mean the Greeks came in through Alexander, Ptolemy wanted to be part of, and this is part of what he said. He says Ptolemy wanted to be part of the priest system, but they told him no. First it was Alexander, they told him no, then Ptolemy. But Ptolemy found one group of Melkites who said yes, right? That's what he said. Hold on a second. Am I back on? Okay, so that's what he said. He found one group that said yes, and then he shut all the other ones down, right? So at this point, and we're talking about around 325, and y'all just let me know if my logic, especially aside if you back, hotel brother, if I'm off. So at this point, we can say that at this point, when Ptolemy came in, that the Greeks now started to learn the hieroglyphs because they were inducted into the priestly system according to his story. So at this point, we got time, we got motive, we got opportunity, right? And then we know that there's a line of Ptolemies, right? So we move into Rome. Now, Rome took over after the Greeks, and they also was interjected into the priest system, because we know in Rome there were many temples, right? So
Hmm?
my question would be, when was the last priest? At what time was it? At what time did you say that that it became dead? Right? Because
Yeah, who
based on
said
your,
that it became dead?
well, I'm
That's
just
what I'm trying to figure out. Who
right.
said that?
Exactly, but that's their whole thing. It says the dead language. So
Yeah.
my hypothesis is that through the Greeks, from the Greeks through from the Romans through the Greeks, the priestly system of the hieroglyphs was known. They had gained knowledge of it. Now maybe they stopped using it like Latin or whatever, but we can say that they knew it. Some people in Rome knew it because they were interjected into the priestly system. According to him, was the Malachites. So when Budge came in to decipher the hieroglyphs, which he didn't decipher, he had help deciphering it, that someone would have known what those symbols were, or some of the symbols were, by even if it was doing reverse engineering, and then some symbols that they would have known the hieroglyphs, and it was just a matter of piecing things together at that point. Would I be off with that logic by saying that the Medunetta, or the understanding and the knowledge of the Medunetta, was not dead prior to 70 AD?
70 AD.
70
It
AD,
was
meaning like,
actually, the last hieroglyphic writing
Mhm.
is 390 AD.
Okay,
It's after the Council of Nicaea,
okay,
you know.
okay, okay.
And
And that's Coptic or what?
no, let me share it again.
Yeah.
And
So
there's a book. Did I leave the book? Let me see if I left the book open, because I thought maybe. Oh, no, actually. Okay, let me show for. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna try. I prefer Britannica, but if they don't have it on Britannica, then okay, hieroglyphic. Then I will put up um uh, um Wikipedia. So, and a lot of people just don't know that. You know what I'm saying? Now, it should be probably around the end. There it is. So, okay, let me share the link in the chat. So, for the benefit of the
Just
court,
muted.
it is in the chat. Our brother Osam Kai is back. So, this is the part that says Christianity and the Greek alphabet, but the entry here is hieroglyphic writing, Encyclopedia Britannica. Now,
It should say the
this,
name of the priest, the last priest.
Okay.
uh, well, we'll see, but maybe on Wikipedia they have it there. But here we
I,
are told this. Yes, go ahead, brother.
I thought it wasn't Ulcer Khan. What was
Oh, also, I think he was one of the ruler.
yeah, but you remember
Yeah.
because what you about to pull up is that last writing of a hieroglyphic, anything from the priest, and it's going to tell you where and why. I believe it tells you who did it as well. But
Well, at a glance, it doesn't appear that they've put the name of the priest on that article, but maybe on Wikipedia, maybe they have it there. You know.
because there's another one. I can't remember what is his name.
Yeah.
Go
Well, in the
ahead, brother.
meantime,
It'll come
yes,
to me later. Yeah,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
remember. I remember the priest.
yeah, but
Go
feel free
ahead.
to
Go
have a
ahead.
look maybe on Wikipedia. Well, as I
Let me
read
see.
that
I
that
think I
one.
got it.
So, the situation was altered with the conversion of Egypt to Christianity in the 2nd and 3rd century CE. The new religion fought against the Egyptian polytheism and traditions, and with its victory, the Greek script triumphed. From the beginning, Egyptian Christians used the Greek alphabet for writing their spoken Egyptian language. This practice involved enlarging the Greek alphabet with seven supplementary letters for Egyptian sounds not present in Greek. As a consequence, the knowledge of hieroglyphic writing quickly declined. The last datable evidence of the writing system is a graffito from the island of Philae from August 24, 19. I'm sorry, 19. From August 24, 394. And that's, of course, that's AD or CE. During the reign of the Emperor Theodosius, the language as well as the writing system of the Egyptian Christians is called Coptic. Now, let me move to Wikipedia to see if they give the name of the priest. Hieroglyph, hieroglyphic.
Because if I'm not mistaken, his name was next to the writing. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
if I
but well, let's,
remember it
let's
correctly.
hold on. Late survival. So yeah, I've read that yesterday. But for the benefit of the court, I'm sharing this link in the chat as well. So late survival hieroglyphs continue to be used under Persian rule, intermittent in the 6th and 5th century BCE, and after Alexander the Great's conquest of Egypt during the ensuing Ptolemaic and Roman periods. It appears that the misleading quality of comments from Greek and Roman writers about hieroglyphs came about, at least in part, as a response to the changed political situation. Some believe that hieroglyphs may have functioned as a way to distinguish true Egyptians from some of the foreign conquerors. Another reason may be the refusal to tackle a foreign culture of its own, on its own terms, which characterized Greco-Roman approaches to Egyptian culture generally. Having learned that hieroglyphs were sacred writing, Greco-Roman authors imagined the complex but rational system as an allegorical, even magical system transmitting secret mystical knowledge. By the 4th century AD, few Egyptians were capable of reading hieroglyphs, and the myth of allegorical hieroglyphs was ascendant. Monumental use of hieroglyphs ceased after the closing of all non Christian temples in 391 by the Roman Emperor Theodosius I. The last known inscription is from Philae, known as the Graffito of, of Esmet Akom from 394. And then they talk about how Apollo. So maybe if we look at the last inscription here, that Graffito, we might have the name of the priest. Let me do it. I don't really want to read the whole thing. So if I search priest, um, yeah, we have the name here apparently. So let me share this link in the chat, and the name is actually right at the beginning of the article. So for the
I
benefit
thought
of
he,
the court, come again, brother.
yeah, I thought I was saying I thought he was in there. I pretty, yeah.
Yeah, he's there. He's there. So here, the graffito Esmet Akom, also known by its designation Philae 436 or GPH 436, is the last known inscription written in Egyptian hieroglyphs carved on 24 August AD 394. The inscription carved in the Temple of Philae in southern Egypt was created by a priest named Nesmeterakem or Esmet
Hmm.
Akom. So I'm putting the name in the chat so everybody can see the spelling.
My name is Rakim Allah.
Exactly. Eric B and Rakim. Ness
That's
Eric B
why I
and
was
Rakim.
putting, yeah, the NA stand for raw. So
So here
we've
you
got
have it.
that. You also have what was explained.
Rakim.
Coptic is still
Mhm.
used.
Yes.
So if Coptic is still used, and this is why when we talk about the brother Sarim, when he tried to deny Coptic's use, but also tried to say in the same breath Afro-Asiatic is a substantiated language, not a working hypothesis as a language phylum and family. This is when he ran into a problem because you can't get the sounds in Afro-Asiatic without referring to the Coptic, without referring
Mm.
to the Greek, without referring to the Arabic. And when you really do the work, because we don't need those outside language phylums except for the Coptic, and we can still, use the Greek a little bit, but the main thing would be to go to that Chad language, to go to the Chadic, to go to the Nilotic languages, and then to do the other research, which is to touch on the people who were actually in those locales, like the Maasai. Why? Because the language is called Seshu Ma'a Ni Medunecha. The Maasai speak the Ma'a language. Why wouldn't you use them? Why wouldn't you use Kalenjin? Why wouldn't you listen to the Khoi? Why wouldn't you listen to the actual people who were there? And so this is why we say it's a working hypothesis until people take those cognates out of those languages and add them properly to that language phylum. So you can say this is truly an African language. We don't just have the Chadic, but we have the other cultures that were there. Then we can say, yeah, it's been properly deciphered. And this was the discussion we had on Smash Your Show the other day, precisely.
And
But
Exactly. Exactly. Go ahead, Shaka. Sorry, bro.
No, no, no problem at all. No problem at all. Now, the funny thing is that I had another quick look at this article about the last inscription. Now, we have the name of the priest here, Nesmeterakem, and it consists of a carved figure of the god Mondulis, as well an accompanying text wherein Nesmeterakem hopes his inscription will last for all time and eternity. The inscription also contains a text in a Demotic script with similar content. Now, who is the god Mondulis? Mondulis was a god of ancient Nubia, also worshipped in Egypt.
hmm,
Now, his worship was not necessarily that old because here they are telling us that the worship of Mondulis was unknown in Egypt under the native pharaohs, the temple of Kalabsha being constructed under the Ptolemies 305 to 30 BC. But it is still a Nubian god. So I think it's quite interesting, that the last inscription has to do with a Nubian god. But I don't know if
Yeah,
Daniel
that
Hero is
is.
still there. But um, it's simple. The Greeks were there. They could hear the language. Some people could obviously read the language, and it's safe to say that some could write the language because we have it written. But remember, the artifact that I've shown from the Louvre Museum, that's 300 BC, you see, and we have the name Alexander, and that's 2,000 years before the Rosetta Stone. And like Osam Khan said, the ancient Egyptian language survives through the Coptic. Even though the script is not the same, it's still the last stage or last phase of the language. And for the people who want to argue, yeah, but it's different, well, it is as different as the classical Arabic, the language of the Quran, is different to the modern Arabic or Fusha, because you'll be hard pressed to find people speaking classical Arabic in the street or at home. That's the language of the Quran. So we have to be fair. We should not be biased. If people want to argue that the Madonnacha has not been deciphered, they should say that the cuneiform writings, no matter what language it was, but let's say the cuneiform was not deciphered. They should say that the Hebrew was not deciphered because it was dead at one point and they revived it using the Yiddish, a great deal of the Yiddish. But I mean, this is what we have to deal with. So, um, well, V Bennett, if you want to finish your closing remarks, so I can let Osam Ka and then Daniel Heru if he's still with us.
Yeah, I just want to say, well, I said before, Shaka, I appreciate you, and also my brothers, I appreciate y'all, and the ladies, also the sisters. Uh, to me, this thing, the language, I have to factor in a lot of things. If I think about this claim that the language died and that nobody could speak it after a certain point, or no one understood it and deciphered it. I'm sorry, human beings have they've worked the physics out to go to Mars, right? They looked at those pyramids, all the human progression that it took from those pyramids to be built. Somebody went further and figured out how to get to Mars. And while they figured out how to get to Mars, those pyramids were staring them right in the face. Those writings were staring them right in the face. It's just illogical and irrational to me that that could be lost, something that's just standing right in your face. If it was on the bottom of the sea, that's not right in your face. But it's not. It's been the wonders. It's some of the things that Egypt are called the eighth one. What is it? The eighth wonder of the world. Isn't one of those monuments called that, the Sphinx?
The
They are the eighth
pyramids.
wonder of the world. The last one that's standing.
Yes,
The
the
other
the
Right.
eight ones are
oldest,
gone.
the the
How,
oldest of the seven wonders of the world, and the only
so-
one standing, and that's why they had to come up with the new wonders of the world.
right. This focus, Egypt has meant so much to civilization, and modern civilization. Even it's like it's been staring at people. I just don't buy it. You would, how many millions of people have to? How many people, scholars, laymen, just everyday folks that got to speak a language, even how many of these people had to walk past there and just say, you mean to tell me all those people saw that and just said, not worth figuring out? I don't buy it. We figured out how to get to the moon. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I just reject that claim flat out. And of course, I'm not a linguist. I'm not an expert in language, right? And I'm not an expert in the in the hieroglyphs. So I can't prove it that way. But I'm just saying flat out, I would never go in that direction. It's just irrational to me. So I'm gonna defer to you, to my brothers on this one.
Thank you, brother V.
Yeah.
Bennett.
And the tab, and the
Brother,
tab is
brother
it's just.
Sarika, feel free to make your closing remarks, brother.
I'm sorry, family. Yeah, it's good to. It's always refreshing when I hear my brother Daniel Haru and any of my other younger brothers. Y'all are our brother down below on the come up. Because it lets us know that the things that we do and study and put forth, you hear, you listening, it's sinking in. It's going to go on for some generation. It could spread out like we wanted to. It could start to catch wildfire. But we know that the history is going to be, for the most part, safe. And then we always on the lookout for the new scholar. But to close out on what the show was about, when it comes to the decipherment of the Medu Neter is still going. Coptic form is still here. And you're getting it from some of the people who, their chain of ancestry was still there. Um, so it's important to pick up Coptic, start to study Coptic, make it part of your libido, study the Medu Neter, because it's a very easy language to read and understand in most cases. Um, when they say it's symbols, you show me a letter that's not a symbol. That's how silly the argument is. If I show you a one, you can't tell me that it sounds like a W, has an O part, and ends with an N, and you'd really be confused to see a silent E at the end of it if you spell it out in English. So everything is symbols. The question is, are they readable symbols where they put together in sentences? And so, as my brother Daniel Haru can see, as our other brother below can see, as Shaka and Dugu Kemet teaches, as I teach, and we show, these are readable things. All you have to do is get up off of that thing and read, and you'll feel better. Ow! You got to do the James Brown on it sometimes.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
pick up the
Or the Whoopi
information.
Goldberg Sister Act.
Yeah.
He's stupid with that. These are the things you guys have to pick up and do. Don't, because remember, the reason we originally did this is because they tried to erase you from history. You see them
Exactly.
still trying to do it right now. And then the bad part, you got the house Negroes coming in trying to help them do it. And then you see us, we got to stand up and do this. And you done let the house Negro get this whole huge following. And they pseudo, they tell you pseudo. We put the information together. Theirs crumbles, ours stands up. Watch what you look
Yep.
at. Watch what you look at. Because when you eat junk food, you get fat. When you eat healthy, you can build muscle. Start getting a more healthy diet of what you listen to and watch.
Thank you, Saint E. Osar MK. Now, Brother Daniel, are you still with us? Well, I think he had to step out. Well, thank you very much, brothers. I appreciate that. We're definitely going to get some clarity. Because I want to learn the Coptic, I started learning the Greek. I kind of paused the Greek and a few other languages that I'm learning because I'm behind on my studies. Have a lot of reading to do, so
Hey,
I might.
Shaka,
Yes,
Shaka.
brother. Yes.
I'm gonna show you the free class online,
Hmm.
and you can give it to the brothers as well. I'm gonna put y'all on game. It's a free class online. They give you like paperwork and all that stuff. You got to do the homework, so it makes you stay active with it. And when you finish it, you're gonna be on point. You're gonna be
All
super
right.
on point. And mine's is rusty at the moment, but
Mhm.
you seen us read it the other day. You seen we was on it. We were going through it. So I'll hook you up with it because I know you teach. You might want to add it to your libido like that. So, and then if my brothers want it, they can get it too. But it's
Yeah, it
free.
sounds interesting, bro.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And then you can go over there, see the Cabra Nagast and all that stuff.
I don't deal with that so-called oldest Bible in the
Yeah.
world. Uh, how many brothers and sisters tell us, "Oh, well, the oldest Bible in the world is in Ethiopia." Oh man. So thank you very much, brothers and sisters. I'm going to say, stay safe, stay healthy, and if I'm allowed to by the Neteru, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue. I state facts. If you are not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Dua itu, dua Neteru, Hotep.
Mattel.
Now,
Hotel.
for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving middle nature classes, and here, that's the flyer. Okay, so those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video Kemet and Ma'at before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more.
I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first Meta Nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other Meta Nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had, ever. So if you're interested in learning the Meta Nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody's interested in learning the meta nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome, awesome, awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah, and I'm currently taking the Medu Neture classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. Only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how, involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class, and all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Medu Neture class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/ma'atforever.